Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the gallery here. And welcome to our Electoral Area Services Committee meeting for Monday, February 24th, 2025. A little bit of housekeeping first off. Anybody need to use the washroom? It's just down the hall and to your right. And to follow the instructions, the doors open and shut automatically. If we have any kind of a natural disaster, an emergency situation, the muster point is right out on the front parking lot. And as you can see, there's exits here and here, as well as just through the door. And of course, the front door is where you come in. That being said, I would like now to recognize the fact that we're so privileged today to be doing our business on the unceded traditional territory of what we call the Comox First Nations. We're going to dive right into it. We have a delegation all eager to go. Hillary Jones is here from the Vancouver Island Safe Tech Alliance to present information regarding a framework for placing of cell towers. And welcome. Just press that little button and the lights come on. Thanks.
Okay.
Hi.
Good day, area directors. My name is Hillary Jones, as you know, as this is my fourth time delivering a delegation to you with respect to cell tower placements. This time, I'm here to encourage you to craft a motion to create a framework for which cell towers can be placed, specifically not within 400 to 500 meters of a school, highly occupied residential areas, or sensitive ecological areas. I propose a revision to the CVRD policy P89 to have more clear guidelines as to acceptable proposed locations for cell phone towers. I'm here as a concerned Comox Valley resident. I want to protect this amazing and beautiful place. I moved here because of the farms, the stunning landscape, the lush wildlife, and the forests, and the lack of cell towers and antenna. I'm disappointed to see how many new applications there are in the last few years. I'll show you a map shortly showing all of the antennas that are existing. I'm also a member of Vancouver Island Safe Tech Alliance. VISTA was formed by a group of concerned citizens of the Comox Valley in November 2022 in response to proposals to erect telecommunication towers on ALR land in the Comox Valley. Our primary purpose is to advocate for safe tech solutions and informed consent concerning wireless technology and cell tower antenna placements. VISTA has compiled information and created an appendix to accompany and support what I'm presenting today. It is attached to the meeting agenda and was sent to each of you directors in advance. Did you guys get it? Wonderful. Is the CVRD destined to be the new home for many cell towers? We hope not, and that's why I'm here. First, I'll talk to you about how the CVRD can adopt a more proactive approach on a federal level after an opportunity was identified at the December 9th EASC meeting with ISED representatives present. Then I will talk to you about empowering you, the local government and decision makers who are supposed to be representing your constituents to develop and decide and develop a proactive policy for antenna siting placements in the CVRD. My third point will be concerning some holes and redundancies in the federal guidelines that exist. An example of other municipalities and their antenna siting policies is also included in the appendix. And finally, I'll discuss the need for public education and possible education campaigns discussing the actual truth about wireless and EMF. Personally, I'm going to follow up with my MLA provincially and also federally. I've already started talking to the federal candidates. I will be following up with ISED regarding the next broad consultation when it will be undertaken. At the December 9th EASC meeting, a representative from ISED, Ken, said that ISED does undertake a broad consultation process before changes are made to the policy, and they look forward to municipal input from the members of the public. I will be asked to be included in this and for more details as to what it entails. I'm making a suggestion today and pointing out a potential opportunity for the CVRD to be proactive and to reach out to ISED and request that they be included in the broad consultation as well and get confirmation of this. Director Hardy and Arbor brought attention to the huge gap with ISED's policy and the broken consultation process in prior meetings. This, as I see it, is an opportunity for follow-up and collaboration. So to quickly summarize, there's a couple of opportunities here. 1, to improve the local policies regarding cell tower antenna placements and to make public consultation process more meaningful and wholesome. I'm also going to get more details. I'm going to get into more details about that in a moment. 2, to follow up with ISED and ensure that the CVRD is one of the parties that's involved in the broad consultation process when it's next reviewed. And to follow up with Ken from ISED with his comment that he would take the information that he heard from the directors at the December 9th meeting back to his policy advisors. Okay, so what did they say about it? Now I'm going to talk about the first opportunity I just mentioned, to evolve and strengthen the local policy regarding the placements of wireless antenna and towers. A local antenna siting policy is within your jurisdictional powers. You are the local council and you have the power. We have tried to demonstrate this in our appendix, and the wording from the December 9th EAC meeting is included in the appendix. Unfortunately, I don't have time to cover it all here today. But very briefly, Daniel Arbour asked ISED if he was aware of any jurisdictions in Canada that have created their own framework for where cell towers could be acceptable. Ken replied that some municipalities have zoned areas, but he would say it's rare the municipalities are that forward-thinking. Here's where we can excel as a community, implementing proactive and protective policies for food production, wildlife, and people. ISED refers to the municipalities. Per ISED, local government, the duly elected council, are responsible for providing a letter of concurrence or non-concurrence to the proponent / ISED for a proposed cell tower application. We've heard a local government member say, we as a local government are asked by ISED to concur that the application followed regulations according to their policy. But ISED says their policy is a default and it's intended for those communities that don't have a policy of their own. So ISED encourages communities to adopt their own policy that is unique and tailors to the concerns of their own community. ISED says that municipalities are to make an informed decision in regards to providing concurrence for the proposed tower. But how can you make an informed decision when there's no long-term data regarding wireless safety? As the local government, please consider implementing a stronger antenna policy for the CVRD. Again, I don't have time to go into very much of this for today, but information was included in our appendix. The fact is, there are issues with Health Canada Safety Code 6. It is out of date based on 6 minutes, and it's only applicable to humans, meaning there's no protection for wildlife or the environment, illustrating another reason for local municipalities to have their own strong antenna siting policies. While I realize this is a federal issue and you said that you can't speak to this guideline, but there are still some things you can do. You are the local government, and as such, you have the ability to amend the local siting antenna policy. You can have an impact on the health longevity of our agriculture, our wildlife, and our community. This is why I'm standing up in front of you here today to empower you to stand up and strengthen the antenna siting policy that is in existence for the CVRD. Has wireless technology been proven safe? The answer is no. There is evidence of harm, even if the government chooses to ignore it. More information on that can be found on page 30 and page 32 to 37 in the appendix. As the American Academy of Environmental Medicine put it, the evidence is irrefutable. This slide displays how many towers there are already in place in the valley. How many more do we need? Dove Creek, Eleanor Road, Williams Beach Road, Courtney, Hornby Island, and now Seal Bay. I believe that public education about wireless technology is needed and overdue. The European Parliament has recently looked at the health impact of 5G and said people should be informed of the potential risks. Refer to pages 38 to 39 on the appendix for more information on that and a link to that report. I can't finish today without mentioning the unaddressed concerns and questions with respect to liability risks involved when industry standards include exclusions for RF or wireless emissions, who has adequate coverage, and who is liable if people, wildlife, or the environment are harmed. Who is liable? Has informed consent been obtained? Please refer to pages 27 to 31 of the appendix for more info. You may recall this information as I voiced these current concerns before. I'm not sure if you've heard what wireless transmission sounds like. I brought a meter to demonstrate that. This is a Safe and Sound Pro 2 RF meter from Safe Living Technology in Ontario. So this is what wireless radiation sounds like. You may not be able to hear it without this device, but the trillions of your cells in your body do, and it's emitting 24/7. Often our exposure is all day long, not just 6 minutes. In conclusion, wireless radiation is potentially dangerous on many fronts, in my opinion, and independent scientists and medical professionals agree. I'm asking this local government to be the change makers and to be a hero. Make a motion to strengthen the Comox Valley Regional District's antenna siting policy. Take a proactive and protective approach. Please make a motion to strengthen this policy and pause telecommunication tower applications until a policy is complete. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Fantastic delivery. Right under the mark.
Thank you.
Very good. We have some questions. Director Arbor has a question.
She still had 11 seconds to spare, so.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. And I think, yeah, today was actually a very constructive kind of looking forward presentation around what we can do. I think when we started on this issue 3 or 4 years ago and seeing the level of opposition and concern, I think that was the Dove Creek Tower at the time. And really thinking about, you know, what should the future look like rather than feeling like telecom companies can just come and put these things everywhere. So on our first brush, you know, on hindsight, when we put in the first policy, it was really just about ensuring that there was appropriate public process. So it really didn't talk about siting. And I think the fact that you're talking about a policy that would look at where the locations that would be more desirable than not for these towers, that's really good. And I would note that we have, and maybe staff will be able to comment, but we have a staff report due in the second quarter, I think. That's on our resolutions report. And maybe I would ask staff if some of the presenters' comments, like my question would be, what can we expect in that report? Because we just said, you know, it will just basically say what would a review look like, what the scope of a review, but could we have some, should we expect some examples of what it could look like, of what other jurisdictions have done around a siting policy and things like that? Is that research being done, or we'll just have like option one, please commission us to do a review? I'm just trying to figure out what level of information we'll have in the second quarter. Then I'll reserve more comments for later.
Thanks, Director, and good morning to the directors and the committee. Ton True is our Manager of Planning Services, and I'm wondering, Ton, would you be able to forecast or provide a preview of that report? And I'm referencing the committee resolution from December where staff will prepare a report that considers potential updates to the telecommunication antenna system application and consultation process policy, P89. If you have any kind of preview of what that report may contain, putting you on the spot a little bit, but if there is any sense of what that report may contain. Alternatively, this is information we can come back to the committee with. We would be coming back with that report regardless. So Tom, I'm not sure if you have any preview there, and if not, we will be able to come back to the committee.
Poor Ton's knee deep in budget right now, we know. So probably the bottom of that pile is a preliminary draft on this. So Ton?
Good morning through the CEO to the chair and directors. This work is scheduled for 2025. It is on our work plan for planning. I'm unable right now to provide you with what is going to be looked at. We have, I think we know what we wanted to look at, but I think we can report back to their committee here with maybe a report just providing with a bunch of options and some ideas that staff can move forward with the application. But right now, I can't dive right into what details we would like to present to the committee.
Yeah, no,
Director?
thanks. That's helpful, even though it's not like the fully. I think there were some suggestions today though from the delegates that are probably worth considering when, because I think we talked about like doing a mapping exercise and looking at what a if you had, I think that Hillary mentioned, 500 meters from residences. That I mean, there's some things that we could look at, and there's no doubt that residents of the valley, like I hear from lots of people that they want better cell reception and be able to use their devices. But at the same time, what we've seen the last few years is really that hodgepodge. Like it almost seems like a secret and how the industry is going about developing that network. And we saw the opposition with the visual effects, with the health effects over time. So I think creating that framework would be really helpful. And I really want to thank the delegation for suggesting that. I just feel like we might have to get through a couple of tower applications before all that work is through. But hearing, that there might be a need for 8 or 10 towers. I forget what Mr. Craig had said, but there's plans for lots more as you presented. I think the sooner we can get that policy, a siting policy kind of in place, the more that will create more certainty for the applicants and also more protection for residents. So, yeah. So overall, in terms of motion, if I might say, that probably wouldn't happen today. I mean, my intent anyways, is to move towards a siting policy but it's hard to do that without a report. But I think the information you provided today, hopefully staff integrate some of it into, or all of it into their report.
Thank you very much. Any questions, Director? Don, weigh in on this?
Through the chair to the directors. Yeah, that's correct, Director Arbor. When we drafted this policy back in May 2024, our intention was to make sure that we have a fulsome policy that looks at engagement, and also make sure that it's a permitted land use. Obviously the policy can always be looked at and revamped. And I think moving forward, we would be looking at, as a presenter mentioned about the siting. And we will see if we can improve that or include that type of information. After the December 9th meeting, staff did speak with ISA Canada after the meeting and also tell us in regards to how we can move forward. And both parties mentioned to staff that they would love to work with staff to review the policy and how we can improve that.
Director?
Yeah, that's good to hear. And as long as we're in the driver's seat of our policy, which goes without saying, I think it's good to have engagement with them. And it was good to hear. I agree. I say that this would be forward thinking, that not a lot of people are doing this. But my sense is if we do this well, the siting policy, the public engagement may not be as intense as it's been in the past because people will have some degree of comfort around the land use portion and where we cite them. So that's my hope anyways. So yeah, thank you for coming to present. I think pretty timely, just as staff will start on this work. And I'm pretty hopeful that this issue that's been pretty contentious in the community over time will, if we can arrive at a good product that is forward thinking and kind of leading, and that'll be really great.
Great. Thank you so much.
I would say though that as well, talking to some of the telecommunication reps, that they would certainly like to have a policy because they waste a lot of time and money going down the alleys. So it would be, and also one in particular told me, he said, well, this is what's coming around the corner is even scarier because now we're talking 6G. And as you know, most of our towers in the rural areas are around the 3 gigahertz, 3.5 gigahertz frequency range. Whereas when you get into pure 5G, is 24 gigahertz up to about 40 gigahertz. Now we're talking about the real frequency is a concern. Mind you, those really high frequencies don't really work in rural areas because they don't go very far and they bounce off trees, so they're not suitable. But the 6G, we're talking about the next tranche of frequencies, which is between 53 megahertz and up. And of course, 53 to 78 megahertz or gigahertz, sorry, is the frequencies of most concern. So how they're going to do this? I think the federal government is warming up to the idea of revisiting their regulations. I think it's a matter of time. We've got an election coming up, so I would urge everybody here to get out and ask the candidates those questions. And meanwhile, we'll work in our own little backyard here and try to come up with a safe compromise for everybody.
That would be great. And can I just respond real quick to the 6G comment? So just you made a mention that the higher frequencies don't travel that far, and that's absolutely true. So what's going to end up happening is small cell antennas are going to be having to be placed on every other post, like a power post. And so that's going to really increase the density and the exposure of the wireless emissions that are being emitted everywhere. And I'd also like just to really stress that the public really needs to be educated about this. They have no idea, and industry is not telling them. They're not giving any non-wireless solutions, and there are many.
Yeah, this along with the fact that we are being bombarded daily with frequencies from lower satellites and geolocating devices and everything else, both all the extraterrestrial stuff that we have absolutely no purview over, no control, even at a national government level. Director Harbour.
Yeah, just one final comment is I think the good thing that's come out of that opposition so far is for me, that was like a big win in Duff Creek when TELUS ended up putting fiber, because people were like, we want high connectivity at home, but we're starting to see more and more investment in the rural areas, and I know there'll be opportunities for fiber in the Williams Beach area and sort of area C, and there's also a need around south in my area. So I think that continued discussion around the best ways to service community should still be alive and look beyond cell as well as the primary conduit. So yeah, no, really good. Thank you for coming today.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I just think we have to do what we can, right? We can't control the satellites up there, but we can control what we're exposing ourselves to and what we're installing in our communities and on our farmland.
Well, you may know that you can already do a text in the middle of the bush with a regular iPhone. It picks up on and Elon's going to put 70,000 more of those things up there in the next few years. So we will be wearing tinfoil hats. Thanks so much for bringing it to our attention.
Great. Thank you.
Look forward to reporting out later in the second quarter. Okay, thank you. So we are on the motion of receipt of the report. Any opposed? That carries. And we're going to move along to our resolution status report, all 25 pages of it for receipt. Oh, sorry, only 5. I was informed by our CEO. We're going to get to the bottom of it yet. I'm sure there's one there that will tweak the director from Area A's interest. I know I'm going to harp on the very last one on there from 2019, which is trying to get the ministry to the table regarding flood or rainwater management in Saratoga Beach, which we gave them a report in 2019. Spent I don't know how much money with the engineers and whatever, and they thanked us very much and put it in a filing cabinet or whatever, put it in the cloud, whatever the equivalent is. And we haven't heard back from them yet. So nice to have partners in provincial government. Good. Okay. Do we move receipt? It's moved and seconded. Anybody opposed to receive? And over at director, you're not speaking to this then? You are? Okay. We won't vote on receipt then.
No, thanks. I was hiding my light below my computer, so I guess you can see it. I do have, actually, I will have just a general comment around Well, actually, maybe I'll have my question first around the Royston platform and the work that's being done. There's an engagement plan, and I think that was coming up in March. I don't know if staff knows for that. We were going to rent the Royston Hall to look at the whole future, and have since had a group of residents interested in meeting about that in Royston. So I'm just trying to figure out what our timelines are.
I don't have a specific date in my mind. Looked at Doug DeMarzo if he had any information about a specific engagement. This is about the Royston viewing platform and options around repair, replacement, removal. I don't know that we have a specific date in mind. We can get back to you and let you know.
Yeah, that'd be good. And it's not just the platform, it's the boat launch access as well. I think it's supposed to have a comprehensive look, but I know residents nearby are interested in the process, and they've been asking me when we'd be doing that. So I can wait for the next meeting.
Sure, we'll get some information and have an answer.
That'd be great. And then for the other directors, I know I mentioned this at the board, but something around the that's not on there, but that will be on there shortly. The Parks and Recreation Review will be asked for. So I'm still set for April to bring that forward, and I'll be consulting with staff prior. So just so the two directors are aware of that.
Very good. So seeing no more comments, anyone opposed to resolution status report? Seeing none, it carries. On to unfinished business. A rise and report on the Wildwood Interpretive Forest and the Royston Seaside Trail Partnership Agreement. Move second receipt, and do we have someone presenting on this?
No, Mr. Chair, this was information that we're able to rise and report on to make public in terms of the partnership agreement. No actions needed.
I'll just read it. The agreement does not constitute any form of ownership over Wildwood Interpretive Forest or the Royston Seaside Trail lands, but rather allows the CVRD to manage these lands as a park on behalf of Recreation and Trails BC until such time that treaty negotiations are completed and the Wildwood Interpretive Forest land is transferred to Comox. Further, the province and Comox together have determined that the updated one-year agreement for the CRD to manage Wildwood Interpretive Forest and the Royston Seaside Trail is appropriate, with the understanding that the interim agreement can be further amended in collaboration with Comox sometime in the future. So we're on receipt. Director?
Yeah, thanks. And there's basically little change in this agreement, and I think it's pretty exciting to see. It will be exciting in the next couple of weeks to find out what happens with the treaty vote at Comox First Nation, and hopefully we'll be able to bring those kinds of issues back for consideration and how to move forward after that. But as I understand, this agreement is just like hold the course for now.
Okay then, anybody opposed to the unfinished business in the rise report? Seeing none, we have risen and we have reported. Now on to regular reports. Ministry of Transportation and Transit. Kellen Truitt is here. Is he in the room or no? He's. I think
Morning,
he's
everyone.
you work at an Nanaimo, don't you?
No, here in Courtney, we're
Oh, you're in the Courtney office, our old digs next door.
Right.
Turn it over to you, Kellen.
Okay, thank you very much. Nice to see everyone this morning. Thanks for having us. So just a quick introduction for myself, Kellen Truitt, the operations manager for the North Island service area. And we've got a few others with us today from the ministry and main.
Good morning. Mike Pearson. I'm the district manager for Vancouver Island District with the Ministry of Transportation and Transit.
Welcome, Mike.
My name is Marissa. I'm the area manager for the Courtney Comox area. I work with Kellen here in the Courtney office.
Yes, you are.
Hi there, Chris Cowley. I'm the general manager for Main Road North Island, and we hold the maintenance contract for the ministry for Area 3.
You're the guy that makes it happen.
Well, not me directly, but we do have people that do that.
Okay, so
Thanks, everyone. Again, like I say, appreciate your time and the opportunity to meet again. We've put together a presentation for today, so if that's all right. I will share my screen, run through that, and then happy to go through any questions. All right. Can everyone see my screen all right?
Yes, we can. Thanks, Gil.
Okay, perfect. All right, so this is our 2025 February update for the North Island Service Area 3. So put together an agenda for today. Going to go through an overview of our service area here in the North Island. We'll do an overview of the maintenance services we provide. We'd like to speak quickly to winter maintenance. Then we can dive into a discussion on just some highlights from this fiscal year's accomplishments for 2024 to the end of March 25, and then a quick look ahead at our 2025 program. Like I said, then happy to follow up with any questions. All right, so probably if you've seen this before, just a quick overview map of our service area. So just to summarize, the North Island basically encompasses the area from Cook Creek Road up to Port Hardy and includes the Northern Gulf Islands. We include several numbered routes, including Highway 19, 19A, 28, and 30. Our service area encompasses around 3,850 lane kilometers of maintained road, includes 10 rest areas and 319 structures. We have a highway maintenance agreement, which is with Main Road North Island Contracting. That agreement is currently in place between 2018 to 28, with an option for extension, and current value 26.3 million. The maintenance yards, we have 9 located throughout the service area. Those are highlighted in yellow on the map. See, so we have locations at Cumberland, Denman and Hornby Island, Campbell River, Quadra Island and Cortez, Gold River, Sayward, and Port McNeil. So that's just a quick overview of our area. Now just to dive into an overview of the maintenance services that we're providing. So generally, we classify these into 2 separate groups. So that broadly speaking, we can reference services as routine, in which case the quantity of works are generally determined by the response frequency. So we will have response times outlined in our specifications, which guide these activities. So this would include things such as temporary pavement patching, puddle patching, surface cleaning, debris removal, winter maintenance, litter collection, sign cleaning, traffic management, and incident response. And then the other main basket of services would be quantified, wherein an annual quantity of work is allocated to meet the needs of the area and the infrastructure. So we work collaboratively between industry and Main Road to develop any plans that best serve the area. So some examples of these types of services would include permanent pavement patching, so the larger size replacement patches, grading, dust control, ditch maintenance, vegetation control, brushing, culvert replacement, sign replacement, and structure maintenance are some other key examples there. Okay, and I did mention I wanted to go briefly into winter maintenance. This would be for the current season. Just some highlights to explain here. Overall, over the 24-25 season, we've seen a mild winter. Snowfall has been mainly limited to the higher elevations. We've had essentially 1 snow event experienced in late January, early February that impacted the valley. So throughout the season, the main focus has been black ice prevention and managing freezing conditions. Just a few numbers to discuss here on materials. So our maintenance contractors put out about 217 metric tons of crystal salt so far this season, 2,036 tons of winter sand, and 791,531 liters of brine. Then on the equipment side, we've got 16 plow units, including 3 anti-icing units, generally 21 operators working 10 to 12-hour shifts through winter. 4 subcontractors utilized for support, and then mechanics, 6 mechanics on hand to maintain the fleet. So that's just a bit of an update as to where we are this winter. All right, now just to provide some key contacts on both sides. So for our ministry, I think most of us in the room today, just to recap, Marissa is the road area manager for the Comox Valley area. Myself, Kellen, I'm the operations manager, and Mike is our director for the district. I've also included our Transportation Management Center, TMCVC. We reached their 1-800 number or 511. They manage our road condition reporting, incident reporting, and kind of our one-stop shop for all you need to know before you make a trip. And we've also got their website linked, www.drivebc.ca. Got some key contacts for Main Road, North Island as well. Justin Burgers is our operations manager, and Chris, who's here with us today, is the general manager. And I've included the 24-hour hotline as well. Okay, now to dive into some highlights for our accomplishments over the past fiscal year. This is running from essentially April to April. So some of the key components I'll go through here today are our highway and side road resurfacing programs, our safety program, got a few projects of note listed there, our climate adaptation and resilience program, and then a couple other projects as well that are worth highlighting. Well, I'll dive into these a little bit deeper just to provide some further information. All right, so under highways resurfacing, mainly highways, a little bit of side roads on this one. So last year we were working on Highway 19. The scope of the project was traditional mill and fill resurfacing, rehabilitation of the pavement to provide a smooth, stable, and sealed surface. So we worked on Highway 19 between Miller Creek, which is north of Strathcona Parkway intersection. So between there and Jubilee Parkway, also resurfaced Ham Road. So this was around 71 lane kilometers of resurfacing completed, a value of $14.2 million. Also on the highways and side road front, we did some hot in place recycling. This is similarly, it's a pavement rehabilitation treatment, a little bit different. This one's economic and environmentally favorable, but also provides a pavement life extension. So we worked on Highway 19 again, as well as the Comox Valley Parkway. Highway 19, the section was between Buckley Bay Road to Strathcona Parkway. And then we did the majority of the parkway from the 19 interchange down closer to town within the city of Courtenay there, just north of 29th intersection. So that included resurfacing around 96 lane kilometers, and that was a value of $5.3 million. Again, completed summer last year. All right, now moving on to side roads. We focused on Cumberland Road, was one of our more significant projects last year. The scope again, pavement rehabilitation, included around 1.2 road kilometers of resurfacing at a value of $1.1 million. And we also did some work on Lake Trail Road. Again, pavement rehabilitation, mainly providing a smooth, stable, sealed road shoulder in this case. And I've just listed our quantity of hash values there. 207 tons, value 115,000. Okay, moving on to some project work in the area. So this one actually, I don't have a completed photo or not complete yet. This one's being worked on. So intersection improvements at Coleman Road and Bates Road. We're essentially realigning the intersection for some operational improvements. This also includes drainage, resurfacing, and sign system improvements at value of $400,000. So this one should be completed in the near future this year. We've also done some work on Hornby Island. This is Sandpiper Road at Porpoise Crescent. Again, intersection improvements. So we've done some realignment again for operational improvement, resurfacing, drainage, sign system improvements at value of $182,000. And this project was completed all last year. We've done some work on the 17th Street Bridge. So this falls under our movable bridge component. The project included improvements to provide safe navigable waterways for marine traffic, and again, ensuring safe and reliable service to highway users. So we've done an upgrade to the hydraulic system components that includes tanks, lines, and valves at a value of around 200,000. That's some photos there. And for anyone who's not aware, it's quite challenging to get an artistic picture of the inside of that bridge. Anyways, just look at it. Moving on to our culvert programs. So we've done some culvert work out on Ham Road. This was again tying into our asphalt resurfacing program. So the culverts were replaced along that road ahead of resurfacing. And this is again providing highways that are efficiently drained. So we've got CSP corrugated steel pipe, 3 culverts replaced between 800 and 1200 millimeter diameters, and includes where appropriate improvements for resiliency and fish passage at a value of 250,000. We've also done some work along McKay Road. Again, culvert replacements. In this case, 3 culverts were replaced, around 1800 millimeter diameter, improvements for resiliency at a value of 210,000. And then again, Hornby Island, we've done some work along Shingle Spit Road. This was 2 culverts, corrugated steel pipe, along with drainage flume replacements, improvements for resiliency valued at 110,000. All right, now moving on to some more of our structural work. This is the Pickles Road structure on Denman Island. A timber deck replacement was done in the summer last year. This is improvements to provide a safe, smooth, and durable bridge deck surface. Also includes replacement of the timber deck planks along the structure at a value of 110,000. All right, and then Highway 19, I wanted to bring up our wildlife exclusion system maintenance. This is ongoing work we do to keep the system maintained. Just a quick blurb on the scope here. So these wildlife exclusion systems are strategically deployed. This is throughout the province for protection of wildlife, as well as safety of road users along our highways. So the work we completed this year included the clearing of vegetation and repairs to the system to maintain a safe and functioning system. And the value of that work is 300,000. Okay, so that includes just the highlights of our 2024-25 program. Just a quick look ahead to our upcoming 2025 program. So I've included on the highways and side roads resurfacing front. What we currently have in mind or in plan is Highway 19, a continuation of work along Highway 19 between Miller Creek and Strathcona Parkway, between Miller Creek and Jubilee Parkway. And also we'll be working on Strathcona Parkway as well as Nordic Drive. So that I don't have a planned timeline as of yet, but that should be going ahead like in the summer this year. All right, and then I just wanted to make a mention of our BC Active Transportation Infrastructure Grants program. I'm sure everyone's well aware, but this program provides cost-sharing funding for Indigenous and local governments to support active transportation infrastructure projects throughout the province. We have 2 separate grant options. There's an infrastructure projects and a network planning grant, and there's included the link. Everyone's got that in hand. So our next intake is yet to be announced. That will be announced as it's open, and I believe current projects are underway. Should be completed by March of 2026. We're currently working with CBRD staff on the Royston Elementary multi-use path. All right, thank you very much. That concludes the presentation. So maybe now we could move on to any questions.
Thank you very much, Callan. I'm sure we have some questions. I'm just astounded at the amount of tonnage of salt and sand that goes out there for a little dusting that we get here on the wet coast. It's amazing. Director Arbor has a question. Director?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And I want to thank all the delegates here. It's really great to see the full contingent, and I haven't met the Chris, or actually your name doesn't show up, Ms. Binisky, I guess. And Mike, nice to see you. And Mike, thank you for the funding you provided to ICF around the cleanup of the corridor. And I've been in touch with the ICF the last couple of weeks because they're hitting our region. And I know they're now in touch with our park staff to see some of the improvements that could happen. So thank you for that support. And Kellen, thank you for that comprehensive presentation. It was really good to kind of go back to the kind of sky level view and that right down to the detail of everything. That was really well done. I'm sitting on yet another email. Every time you come, like a couple days before, I get an email. I get emails all the time, but I always, as I'm sure the other fellow directors are, but this one, you can probably see where I'm going to go with this one, but it's a resident. Hi, I've recently moved to the Gartley Road and we love it, but you see a lot of children have a bus stop across Highway 19A on Briardale. As you can imagine, crossing the Old Island Highway is very dangerous, and although they are with parents, it's quite stressful crossing at times. Is there a way to have some kind of crossing at Briardale? So this is a new group, and there's new groups emerging all the time on the section between South Courtney and Fanny Bay and residents that find that Area A, the Highway 19A, is still treated as though it was 1990 and this was the only route with speeds of 80 clicks an hour and etc. And I'm so appreciative of the work we're doing around Royston School and active transportation, and I'm going to be looking for ways this year for us to be able to do more of that. You're probably aware that the active transportation service that was going to be regional has taken a huge step back before Christmas, so it didn't go to the AAP and stuff like that. But for myself, I'm actually looking at creating something specific for Area A where I'd bring maybe parks, recreation, and active transportation all together. So when you mentioned the active transportation grant, would the ministry be potentially interested in looking at that whole corridor between Royston and Fanny Bay and thinking about the long-term future, like basically doing a network plan for pedestrians and for cyclists? Because right now, I drove to Black Creek the other day, and it was a great reminder. There's that drop down to 50 clicks an hour, right? In a section of road where a lot of Highway 19A in the south is like that, right? It's a straight line. And often I hear it's all about, prioritizing flow for traffic, but more and more residents in my area, like from year to year, I've only been there 6 years, but everybody wants safe crossings. And everybody wants ways to reduce speed a little bit on that highway, especially when there's an alternative. People can go at Buckley Bay and jump if they're in a rush to get to town. So is that the kind of project, if we took like a full view of what the long-term plan could be for Highway 19A, is that something you'd be interested in looking at? So we build a bit of a strategy. And then on my end, or on our end at CVRD, maybe I'll try to find a way so that we can put a little bit of money on the table over time, not this year because I don't have a service, but in time, so that we do a bit like Royston School and that we can actually, be not just come with hat in hand, but put a little bit of money on the table over the next number of years. Is that something that would be of interest or that you can envision?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the ministry would be more than happy to continue working with you to develop a plan for plans for active transportation in this area, in this region. Yeah, I mean, that's, previously we've asked, hey, let's come together and look at what are the top priorities for the area. And I think having some kind of a plan put together, like you say, that really helps to guide that is great for all of us, and it helps us to demonstrate that we're looking at, not just one-offs, but true priorities for the region.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I can think of I'll just finish my comments and then pass it because I see there's other questions. But there's 4 key spots that I see that are needed. There's one at across from Fanny Bay Hall, safe crossing. One across from McLeod and Union Bay, a safe crossing. You've heard a ton the last 2 years from the Mystery Beach group, a safe crossing. And then this one at Briardale is actually quite legitimate. We have Royston, Royston, we're working on that, and there's a light there, so that's helpful. But all these other community members that are stranded with children trying to get down to the beach or stuff like that, and vice versa. Like there's been zero progress over the years. And for me, pedestrian safety is like the #1 form of active transportation. So yeah, I'm heartened to see that you'd have that interest. On our side, I can't do anything this year because we didn't put it in our budget, but I'm slowly working so that next year I could have maybe more productive conversation around partnering together for a bit longer term. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it is definitely, it's a balance. I mean, again, for us to, we always have to find that balance between mobility and of course, any in change or infrastructure you add onto a corridor that, you have to balance the, vehicle usage versus pedestrian usage. We have to do our due diligence. But yeah, again, happy to work with you guys on developing plans.
Well, the nice thing about 19A is it used to be 19, so it's a big, wide corridor there that lends itself very well to bike lanes on the side of the road. It's not like whipping along Condensory Road and coming up to the bridge. So there's a lot of opportunity there. I'm going to turn it over to Director Hardy. He has a couple of questions.
Yeah, thanks, Sharon. Thanks for the presentation, Kellen and Mike and everyone else. First and foremost, I'd like to say thank you to Modi with regards to getting the speed limit lowered on the back road. I know that's been a big issue for a number of constituents in B, Town of Comox, City of Courtenay for quite some time. So to see that it's 40 clicks on the back road now is great. And I just wanted to say thanks to Modi for that. I know there's a lot of work involved in getting that done. Again, from an Area B perspective, we still have constituents reaching out with regards to Kilmorley Road out by CFB Comox. Quite a steep road with a steep bank with a lot of trees that are just kind of hanging over top of the road. And when we get into this atmospheric rivers that come bursting through with high speeds, there's a lot of concerns about the residents down there. If a tree goes over, they're not getting out of their subdivision down there until somebody comes in with a chainsaw. So just again, reaching out to Modi and bringing it to their attention that we're still getting or receiving phone calls from folks down on Kilmorley Road. I think you're also well aware that Sandpines Road still some big bumps and stuff on a lot of the part of that road that folks are still putting forward issues and concerns, asking that Modi come out and pay a visit and maybe deal with some of those dips that we have out there. Wireless Road, I know, Kellen, you've been working hard on trying to resolve the dust issues out there, but I still hear constituents putting forward complaints, and they're not complaints, but just concerns and issues with regards to how we deal with that. And then finally, I know we've received, and I think Chair Greaves has probably received concerns and issues with regards to Grieve Road with the grass ditches that are out there. It kind of falls in that gap between Modi and Main Road and then a subcontractor doing maintenance on those ditches. But when we get those heavy rainfalls, we're getting overflowing those ditches that comes over top of the road, and people are concerned about their safety when they're driving down that road with the water going over it. So those are just some of the items that I wanted to flag with you. Thanks very much for listening. Bye for now.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. We made note of those items.
Yeah, I guess I have to express some concern as well about the safe access across the road on 19A in the Solom Black Creek area. I did notice there is one crosswalk at the old Solom School that was probably grandfathered in when Solom School was an elementary junior high school back in the 50s and 60s. But it does exist. Of course, it used to go across to the traditional school store across the road where all the kids spent their money buying candy. So it was put in the day and it's still maintained. And I guess that's the way it works, because once something's actually in place, it's kind of grandfathered in. You talk about Coleman Road, and of course there's a speed drop there to 50 clicks. And yet, Merville, everybody whistles through there, and there's Merville Road and Sackville Road. My understanding is that's the second highest crash zone next to Ham Road. So, I mean, it's not an easy one, but I get a lot of questions around crosswalks too. And I just don't know if it's something they're loath to put in a secondary highway like that because you don't want to impede the flow of traffic. Understandable, but I don't know if there's any kind of solution. Putting a couple of lines on the pavement may not make that much difference, but there again, the alternative is to look quickly and dash across. So just wondering what's the ministry's long-term view on those kind of highways and those kind of crosswalks?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say loath to put in. I think probably, referring back to my comments to Director Arbor, it's just for us, again, it has to be a balance, knowing that it's, you're weighing the mobility, for traffic users making their way, whether they're commuting or making long distance trips, versus the pedestrian crossing, the access and all that sort of thing. So we've done some work to date, looking at that corridor between Courtney and Campbell River, coming up with different options that we could further pursue for future projects. I don't think we have anything firmly in place for plans for that corridor right now. So again, I would say, let's continue to work together. If you guys are hearing about a lot of need, we hear definitely all the time as well for crossings at certain locations. We would just need to do our due diligence to verify again whether those are needed, whether they're warranted, whether they could be safely implemented, and if those are truly the priorities for the area.
Yeah, and I know yourself and Marissa and myself and some of the concerned citizens of Merville met at the Merville store, which has direct access on the highway with the gas pumps and everything. It's something that would never exist today, and so I just don't know. We did talk one time. I think you said there might. I think it was at that meeting that there might be some planning dollars available from ICBC or around intersections like that. Is that correct? Or like another source of funding for to look at the intersection?
Yeah, for sure. ICBC has their road safety project or program. So I mean, we'll partner with them however we can. That's a great partnership. Otherwise, like I said, we've done a bit of planning work as well, and that would be what we're looking to do as well is come up with.
Yeah, I was surprised those concrete barriers went back in after the paving job. I thought maybe there'd be a good point in time to actually address that. But you guys, by the way, thanks so much for paving 19A. It's fantastic. Replacing all the culverts, did it right, not the wrong way around. Dig up the road and then put the culvert in. Yeah, we see that all the time. Anyways, any other questions or comments? I guess I have to thank you all very much for coming out, and don't be surprised if you get a phone call. Myself, in the snow situation, I'm happy to say I'm on what's after Tertiary. Rennie Road apparently is like last on the list to get plowed, which serves me very well because when I get an irate phone call from a resident, I just say, "Yeah, me too," and that shuts them right down. Anyways, guys, gals, folks. Oh, one more. I just prompted something. Director Hardy.
Yeah, Area B is always the last one to get snow plowed, so quit your whining over there, Chair.
Well, whoever's last gets to buy lunch. Okay. Director Arbor. See, now we're all going to be last. We're going to out-victim each other here. Director Arbor.
I think Main Road as the answer to that and who was last, and I'm pretty sure that it was Union Bay. Thanks.
I'm not going to comment.
Okay, well, before we break out into fisticuffs here, we'll let you guys go. So thanks so much for the report. And I know we were delayed because of something called an election last fall. So I'm looking forward to getting together before the snow season this fall. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I know.
Well, that was great. So we have to vote on receipt of the Ministry of Transportation's little presentation. Anybody opposed? That carries. Now, the Advisory Planning Commission minutes for Area C, Area B, and Area C again. Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the minutes? They're as vague as we can possibly make them, so let's receive them. Any opposed? That carries. Now, number 3, Electoral Area C zoning bylaw amendment number can I say Z now that we're going to be a state? RZ4C 24-2500, Emerson Road. Moved and seconded, and over to introductions.
Thank you, Chair. Jody McLean, our rural planner, will be introducing, our senior planner will be introducing the staff report on a zoning bylaw amendment for 2500 Emerson Road. Jody, over to you.
Yes, thank you. This item is about a proposed rezoning on a property located between Macaulay Road and the Oyster River. So that area is currently all zoned Country Residential 1, which requires subdivisions achieve a minimum lot area of 2 hectares per lot. And the owners of this one property here, which is 1.2 hectares in size, they've submitted an application requesting the zoning bylaw be amended to allow for its subdivision into a 0.76 hectare lot around their existing house and 1.4 hectare lot over some undeveloped land, just bare land. The 2 proposed lots will be separated from one another by a ditch that exists on the private land, but it's protected by the Ministry of Transportation covenant, which allows them to drain water through it from Emerson Road northwards to Oaks Road. The official community plan designates this area as being part of the settlement node, which generally encourages additional density where services can accommodate it. And it is within the Black Creek Oyster Bay local service area. So both lots can have water connections and fire protection. The subject property is developed currently with 1 house, but in that Country Residential 1 zone, it has the development potential of 1 house and 1 secondary suite or carriage house. And if successful, the subdivision would allow for the development of a new house on that undeveloped lot and a secondary suite or carriage house on both lots. Mr. Chair, this would be a rezoning process with no public hearing. But if the application advances to the bylaw stage, neighbors will be provided notice at that time. Right now, staff is recommending the proposal be accepted because it is consistent with the official community plan and that it proceed to the referral stage. Staff will return with a draft rezoning bylaw based on that feedback. And with me here today is the applicant, Dennis Molnar, who can provide some additional background information if you wish. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jody. Dennis, you want to weigh in at all?
Well, I've not a lot to say about it. When we initially purchased the property over 9 years ago, our initial intent was always to try and parse out an acre to utilize in future, either for family usage or for sale to someone else to become a permanent resident out there. The notion to move forward was accelerated by the fact that the lot beside us had been purchased and subdivided and 2 new homes had been built on there. So the very real possibility to only slightly increase the density of the neighborhood while providing another domicile for another growing family, since both the families have purchased houses beside it, have kids and that. So we thought it was a good time to do it before it gets so astronomically expensive that the only ones buying will be millionaires and retirees.
All those darn happy kids running around happy and screaming and carrying on, tell you, drives you nuts. We're lucky in my area too, because we've gone through a transition. We do have some younger families now and it's very joyous. I guess being that you're not a newcomer, you've got pretty good relationships with your neighbors. They all know you. So, you know, when it comes to getting support from the neighbors, it should be pretty good, you think? There.
We're a fairly small community, like I said. I mean, on the cul-de-sac there's 4 houses in our immediate area, and then all the rest exist along either the fence line onto Oaks
Yeah.
or over on Macaulay. So some we know better than others. Some we have very close relationships with. So, and one of them is one of the local contractors that has already expressed an interest in the lot. So we'll see how that moves forward. But he's a reputable builder, and he's built the other 2 houses that are in the neighborhood.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so I think there's some consistency and some cohesiveness there with that arrangement.
Keep it local. Director Arbor, got some questions for staff or the proponent?
Yeah, thanks. I'm fine with sending it to referral, and it looks from all the other lots like that's an area that is asking for more lots in a way, like it's just a pocket. I did have a question about, which is maybe staff's not prepared, and that's fine if you don't know, but on the other side of Emerson Road, there's a fairly large lot which is all forested. Is that a park, or is that, I'm trying to pull IMAP right now, but there's a very significant property between Highway 19. So across, you know, if you go from the cul-de-sac and then you go on the other side, because I'm just wondering how much density we can expect in that whole area, and whether it, at that level of density, it'd be nice if the residents had a park or something like that, if it's not already a park. And that's fine. I realize I'm outside the application here, but just curious.
Jody?
I'm not sure. There is a park in that vicinity. I don't know if it's that parcel in particular, or one parcel over. But it is outside that,
I see.
the Black Creek Oyster Water Service ends basically at this kind of line at this property.
Yeah.
So even going beyond this one, this would be the very edge of where additional density would be looked at.
Interesting. Okay, and I finally pulled out IMAP, and I do see that there's actually a significant conservation area not too far from there on Catherwood Road. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I'm happy with the referral.
Thank you. Any questions, Director? Okay, I have none as well. On receipt of the report, anybody opposed? That carries. And recommendation? Moving second on recommendation. Any further discussion on the recommendation? Seeing none, anyone opposed to recommendation? And that carries. Thank you all very much. Moving along, we have the follow-up for the Electoral Area Service Committee Financial Plan report for receipt. And over for introductions.
Thank you, Chair. Lucy Wicharek, our Chief Financial Officer, will be introducing this staff report, and Kelly Broughton, our Manager of Financial Planning Services, will also be available. This will update on the financial planning process that you've all been a part of for the past several weeks, as well as some specific updates to a couple of the services that you asked us to bring back from your February 12th, I think, meeting. So I think Lucy is also inviting Mark Harrison to participate in the discussion, but I think Lucy, you're going to kick this off. Okay, thanks.
Welcome, Lucy.
Good morning. And through the CAO to the chair and the directors. We are here today to continue with the 2025 EASC budget process. So we have this agenda pulled together for you. I'll just provide a quick public input update. I'll give you an update on the overall budget related to EAS services, and we have the items for follow-up. So there's no change from the last report we provided on public input. Unfortunately, no other questions or feedback that have been submitted through our Engage page. So far, this committee has considered more than 50 services. Amendments have been made to proposed budget along the way. We have had seven amendments, and we didn't have information totally rolled up on the changes to your budget when we were putting together your report. So we've just got a little bit closer to just gathering all the info from last week of changes that were made. So I just have a little bit of brief info for you just to provide you a bit of context as you go into this last couple of pieces of your budget and just wrap everything up. So as I said, we have 7 amendments that have been noted to the services that relate to this particular committee. That's for a total of $313,500. So that's the changes that have been made. So that's a reduction in taxation. I should, however, highlight that the reduction in planning services is $320,000. So the bulk of the change, the reduction coming down, is associated to the item for planning services. The proposed budget showed a taxation increase for EA services of $571,000. So that was the amount we reported to you. That was a tax requisition increase at that time. So we now have reduced that to an increase of $467,571.
Sorry, Lucy, I think Director Hardy asked a question just around the
numbers you're referring to, are they in the presentation? We're still stuck on the agenda.
Yes. So it's not laid out in the presentation. I just thought I would just speak to it verbally. But I certainly can slow down or go over any pieces that you want. Okay. So that proposed budget, when we brought that forward, that change in requisition value was $780,000. And that represented a 7.2% increase. With the reductions that the committee has made so far, that brings that down to 4.28%. Okay. So we've gotten, that was one of our overall goals, was to where we could to be taking the pressure off tax requisitions, and that's what's occurred to date so far. Okay. And I just wanted to give you just a bit of context around, of course, there are other changes in other areas of budget that relate to other boards or committees. And one of them that I think you're aware of, 2 changes that I think you directors are aware of, because it does come from the CVRD board. There was the one amendment that was adding an extra $100,000 to the search and rescue service. And then there's likely a large reduction in 450, the emergency shelter and land acquisition, which will be discussed tomorrow. But the board asked for that to be coming down to the foundational option in the strategy, as opposed to what was in the proposed. Okay. And then also tomorrow on the plate is the possibility of changes to 625, and that's regional parks and trails. Okay. So that's overall, and yes, sorry, I didn't have that in the report, but just to give you a bit of context of where we are currently in the process and what changes have been made to date. So directors did ask that additional analysis and information be provided for Service 619, 620, that's Denman and Hornby Island Community Parks and Trails. It was asked that we return with options for reducing tax requisitions. The Denman Island proposed operating budget, we had $155,000 that was proposed for that particular service. That included a tax increase of $35,000 over 2024. The impact to households was $35.43 a year, or $2.95. And for that particular service, that represented a 29% increase. For Hornby Island, the proposed operating budget was $262,000. That was a tax increase of $72,000 over 2024, $56.09 a year increase, or $4.67. I will note up front that these services currently deliver on multiple service levels and they are struggling with fiscal sustainability. Their reserves are low, and meeting our asset management practices is an issue. We have options for reducing service levels or deferring projects are presented as a means to get to a place where we can reduce tax requisitions. Staff have these two services noted as we go into 2026. We want to dive into these two services more as well as we do some other, as you're aware, other services that are under some financial strain, and just be able to come back maybe even next year through the year to just have the committee consider maybe some different strategies around it. So those are the two items of follow-up that we have laid out for you. And lastly, I just wanted to mention globally around the 2024 surplus projections. We did note in the reports the surpluses anticipated are minimal. So I just thought I'd put that out there at the beginning as an overall for both of those services. Shall we go on? Is it okay if I just go on? We go on to okay, we'll continue with our presentation. Happy to answer any questions over what I said. And Mark will speak to the options that we have laid out for.
Any questions yet? Carry on. Carry on, Mark.
Thank you, Lucy. Through the chair to the directors. As requested, we went back and tried to figure out some options for Service 619 and Service 620 in terms of ways that we could look to reduce the requisition in 2025 and potentially future years as well. So starting with 619, we're bringing forward 3 potential options. A small reduction in service, significant reduction in service, and then cancellation of a potential capital project. So in the first option, a small reduction, we could look to reduce legal and professional fees by approximately 3,000, and those were in the original proposed budget to just in anticipation of discussions on the possible future CIT trail alignment between Corrigal Road and Owl Road, but $3,000 could be removed from that. And then there was also, we did add a trail counter, which was included to help improve planning efficiencies on the island, but we could remove that as well. That was $1,250 within the budget. And then we could also look to reduce the Denman Island Residents Association service contract back to 2024 levels, which would be a reduction of $1,882. So that would reduce the taxation by $6,132. That would decrease by 75 cents per 100,000, or approximately $6.38 per year for a household assessed at $856. And it will reduce the proposed requisition by approximately 4.12% to $148,868. Second option is to reduce the service level significantly, and that could be accomplished by removing most of the DIRA service contract, except those deemed critical, which would be the Bill Me boat launch and outhouse service that DIRA provides. We could reduce the trail counter again, and we could again reduce the legal and professional fees. This would have more significant consequences. It would decrease litter pickups and reduce the service level on our trail surfacing. And we do rely on DIRA for our trail inspections. So this would put us at a bit of a higher risk and would make us more difficult for us to react to changes and opportunities quickly. But if that was the chosen path, then that could result in a reduction in 2025 of $13,916. That would be a decrease of $1.69 per 100,000, or approximately $14.47 per year for a house assessed at $865K. And that would reduce the proposed requisition by approximately 9.86% to $141,084. And lastly, there is the option to cancel an asset management project for the Morning Beach Stairs. That is planned for 2026 at a cost of approximately $70,000. It is in a precarious spot, and there is some, risk associated with that asset as is. If we decided to remove that, then there would be a cost for removal and disposal of the asset. And up in that part of the island, there isn't. That's the only developed public beach access. So that removal could be not taken very great by the islanders. But with that, it wouldn't result in implications for taxation in 2025, but it would reduce future pressures. We are maintaining that asset at a cost of about $1,200 per year. So that would reduce those costs, and then it would reduce pressures on the reserves. So basically, there's those three options that were mentioned: the small reduction, the significant reduction, or canceling the Morning Beach Stairs and removing that from the parks inventory, or there could be a combination of those options above, or we could approve the plan as originally proposed. Our recommendation is to make a small reduction in the operating costs by $6,132. It will reduce our ability slightly to be proactive in regards to future CIT SRW discussions, and may reduce it will reduce payments to DERA as well. Happy to stop now and maybe take some questions on that service before we jump into Hornby.
Director Arbor?
Yeah, thanks for the level of detail on the options. I think I'm good with option one. I wouldn't want to undercut the core capacity that DRA is providing with litter pickup and stuff like that. So in regards to Morning Beach Stairs, so maybe let's bring it back, because I sense that it's, I know it's used. I've gone there myself, but I have a lot of questions around that one. Like a bit like you hinted in your presentation, what is the long-term future on a slope that's pretty steep? What is our projection for coastal flooding and the potential impact? I don't know, right? There's lots. And also, if treaty passes, that's one of the routes to Tree Island currently for people to go and walk there. So I just have a lot of questions around whether I know how the asset came to be with the subdivision and all that, but it's also an expensive piece. So I just don't, I think anyways, maybe you do, but I don't have enough information around that value to the community. I know they use it and stuff like that, but it'd be interesting to look at the long-term future for it. It may be that people will just, as you say, well, you didn't say that, but people might rile up if we take it away. But at the same time, I'm curious, you said there's no beach access. What about on the west side of the island, in that general location? I think people find ways to the beach down there.
There's no public access
No
on,
public, okay.
on the west side. I think people access it through private property.
Yeah,
Potentially on that side.
right. And that's not as steep. It's right, so I wonder if long-term, I'm just suggesting, and I don't want to rile up the 1,300 Denmanites currently watching us, but it might be interesting to negotiate a right-of-way with one of the property owners on the west side, and then it would be almost no infrastructure cost because it's just walk down to the beach type of deal, versus maintaining a stairway for the next 200 years until the floods take it or something. Yeah, but okay, for now, option one is good.
Any other comments? I think this is pretty well Director Arbor's call. I know it looks like you're saving the price of a box of beer a year. That's about it. So it depends. I know everything matters, but so it's pretty well. We'll just follow your lead, Director, on that one. Any more discussion on receipt? Mark wants,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, oh, sorry, the Hornby one, yeah.
Thanks. I'll just continue on with service 620 options. So staff did look at 4 possible options for Hornby. That included small reduction, canceling a capital project, canceling another set of capital projects, or doing a significant service level reduction. In terms of the small reduction, we could remove the statutory right-of-way work. The Sigizi property owners did reach out to us and ask us to establish a statutory right-of-way within their property lands where the Hornby Roadside Trail is currently running. We could remove that. That is budgeted at a cost of $10,000, but it would potentially remove a section of the Hornby Roadside Trail from our network. And you know, as you are aware, getting statutory right-of-ways over private property, it can be really challenging. So I think that the fact that we have these property owners that are willing to establish a statutory right-of-way, I don't think that we should let that go, but that is an option. There is the option also to remove the trail counter, which was planning efforts, and that was at a cost of $1,250. So that could reduce the taxation in 2025 by $11,250. Second option would be to cancel the Shingle Spit boat launch project, which is underway, because we did take on debt of $150,000 to support that project. So if we canceled that, then we could reduce our payments of up to $36,600. So that's $30,000 in principal and $6,600 in interest in 2025. Now there is an option that we could look to community works funds to make up that $150,000, which would then result in the same $36,600 reduction in tax in 2025. Thirdly, we could look to remove capital projects on Mount Jeffrey. We had planned in 2027 $30,000 extra to improve parking access to Mount Jeffrey, and in an additional $60,000 in 2028 to improve the Summit Road to improve emergency access and operational efficiencies. Those could be removed, and if so, that would result in, we could reduce the reserve contributions by $32,896,000. And then lastly, we could look at significant service level reductions. We could remove all our contracted maintenance work. This is something that I would highly recommend not doing, but we could shift the focus towards just hazard and public safety management. Would result in likely closure of some parks and trails and facilities to combat liability risk, but that could result in tax cuts of $40,000 to $50,000. So again, we could reduce our year-over-year increases to operational costs related largely to the SRW through the Sigizi property. We could cancel the Shingle Spit boat launch project. We could cancel Mount Jeffrey upgrade projects, or we could significantly reduce service levels, or we can do a combination of the options above. Or again, we could approve the plan as originally proposed. Our recommendation would be to remove the Mount Jeffrey parking upgrade as well as the Summit Trail vehicle to result in reductions to reserves in 2025. The caveat being the one project for 60,000 in Mount Jeffrey Trail was there to improve emergency access. So reducing that would eliminate that project. Happy to take questions.
Director Arbor.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And that was a good job. And Hornby was kind of, this particular service was a big jump. So it's good to break it down and have more information around the options. I really appreciate it. And I land in a similar place as you do. Although I wouldn't say cancel or remove. I think, you know, for the islands, it's maybe defer. I think that's work that will need to be done sometime in the future, but if we can just do the one project, the shingle spick, and focus on that for this year, and then save the other one until it becomes more obvious that it's kind of mission critical, that would be good. And then can you bring back because you have option 2 there, but what about the small reduction? You don't include it so we have the Mount Jeffrey upgrades for 32, but you don't include the small reduction in your recommendation? So the SRW work and trail counter? What would be the rationale to keep that one? Section of the trail that crosses into the Syzygy property close to the public.
So with that one, that's the SRW. There's a portion, it's I think 1.2 kilometers of the
Yeah.
Holmby Roadside Trail that runs through the Syzygy property.
Yeah.
And they have concerns that there's a public trail within their property. So they're looking for us to establish a statutory right of way to protect that trail and for us to take on the liability of that trail.
Oh, okay.
And for us to maintain it. For us to do that, we need to survey the trail and then we need to actually put that onto title. So that's approximately $10,000 worth of work to do that this year. And then the $12.50 for the trail counter, we could add that in and reduce that if you want as well on its own.
Yeah, maybe I'd defer the Syzygy as well, and then the Mount Jeffrey. So for a saving of like 40,000, 43,000 or something.
So if you defer that, then it could be that that property owners might look to close that trail down, and we may lose
so that's a real
1.2
thing.
kilometers of the whole roadside trail.
All right, well, for 11,000, we won't do that. I didn't realize it was mission critical on this one. When I saw small reductions, I thought staff was suggesting that you mean the amount of money, a small reduction, not just it's not just an administrative kind of, okay, I get it. Okay, so
but we could remove the trail counter if you want, and that would be an extra $1,000.
Yeah, that's okay. Let's let that issue settled by the sounds of it. So, okay. Yeah, so I'll vote for option 2.
Can I just clarify one piece for your option, for the option there? Thank you. So, it's staff recommendation that you want to go with. So that's our option 3 to move off the planned. Sorry. Option 2, sorry, to remove Mount Jeffrey parking upgrades. Okay, and you talked about not canceling, but to defer them. So just to confirm, you want to defer those projects out to the future?
Yeah.
Okay. And at this point, what I wanted to confirm is how far out. And I think probably to help out the whole fiscal sustainability, if we move that out past year 5, does that seem okay? If we do that for now, and I know we can come back and consider those projects to the future. Okay, so we will push them out past year 5 then. Okay, thank you.
If it becomes mission critical, like, you know, like the thing is absolutely a disaster, then, you know, within that 5 years, of course, bring it back and we can reconsider. But for financial planning, I'm fine with removing.
Thank you.
My question is with Mount Jeffrey trail vehicle upgrade, is there grant funding available through the province for any of that stuff?
Yeah, that's a good point. There may or may not be, right? And I think when our CFO was talking about different ways to fund the service, one of the places where I took the most heat on the islands after I was elected in 2018 is we had mostly, I mean, it was great that they started the Cross Island Trail, and a lot of it came from strictly community works, but I actually put a stop to it. And I said, we won't put more money into this of the community works funds until we see some matching from the province or other funders. And I went to a meeting at the Denman Hall, and people were not happy with me. There was like 20 people on the Cross Island Committee. And I said, no, I'm serious because there's an opportunity cost with community works. And at the time, we had some big project which have now been realized that were coming. So I'm not sure about this particular one, but I think parks sometimes, as we did with Cross Island, we ended up scoring like huge provincial grants last term. And we were able to complete those pieces, you know, outside of just tax funding or community works allocations. So this might be a pretty small project, but I would encourage that thinking, just like our CFO said, to just keep thinking, how do we leverage some other money? We could even have, I don't think, it's something I can talk to some of the leaders on Hornby and Denman. We don't have like a Parks Foundation or something like that where people could donate as well. Like there's a lot of ideas I think we could explore for projects like that. Thanks.
And we may be forced to consider some different options in the future. Any other discussions? Any other questions? Nothing at this point. We're on receipt. Call the question on receipt. Any opposed? Carries. And I'm going to leave it in your capable hands, Director, to wind your way through this labyrinth.
But before I move the two recommendation, I do have a question to staff, which is, oh God, where to start on this one? Well, it actually, it's pretty simple. Last Friday, I was just reviewing the service review guidelines from the province. And obviously we're on the topics of parks right now. And I'm just wondering if it's important for me to do anything, like if we don't include anything on budget for looking at the potential parcel out of Area A from the Park Service as part of service review, which I will initiate in April, do we need a budget for that? Or is that something, do we need to have a budgeted item for that? Because I was trying to look in the guidelines and didn't really address that. All it said is, once you initiate it, the rest of the regional district has 120 days to respond, et cetera, and stuff like that. But I'm just wondering if, like, for example, when the tourism stuff happens with Comox, did we put it in the budget ahead of time? Because we kind of knew as well that it was coming. So it's just a question I have. Or alternatively, could we do a budget amendment if that's required later on?
Thanks for that, Lucy. Certainly do jump in if you want to. My experience is that there are costs associated with the service review, absolutely. And we obviously like to be able to budget for those costs. Without knowing the scope and scale, it's hard to set those budget levels. And to answer your last question, yes, we can always do a budget amendment, provided there are reserve future FFE, funds for future expenditure reserves available. And so those budget amendments can always be made at any point throughout the year as needed. Anything to add, Lucy, on that?
No, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's fine. That answer satisfies me. Basically, staff is saying we don't need to rush to a budget amendment, but we could always look at it later. So in that case, I'll move recommendation 1 and 2. Yeah, that's it.
It's moved and seconded. Any more discussion? You want to use the term deferral, or what do we want to do to the recommendation? Okay. Clear as mud? Mud Bay? Okay, so on recommendation 1, anybody opposed? Carries. And 2, anybody opposed? Also carries. Now, we have the DAFT amenity cost charge program for receipt. Over for comments on the DAFT amenity cost charge.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just confirming that should probably say draft.
You say tomato and I say tomato.
And Doug DeMarzo will be, Doug DeMarzo is our General Manager of Community Services. Doug will be introducing this this covering report and the request to the committee. Doug, over to you.
Thanks, CEO, and through the chair. This is a letter from the Recreation Commission seeking regional collaboration and support for developing an amenity cost charges program in the Comox Valley Regional District, mostly related to recreation infrastructure. The goal of the program is really to ensure equitable contributions across the region while leveraging all available tools to maintain the principle that growth continues to fund growth, as seen in some of the past cost development charges models that you've approved and seen in the past. Some highlights here include the current DCCs as development cost charges and upcoming changes as they may exist for rural water and park services, and regional infrastructure projects will be discussed with staff. Other amenity cost charges under consideration, including with municipalities in response to this new provincial legislation, will also be discussed. Staff participation could involve up to 4 meetings with the objective of getting the information out for winter of 2025. For rural areas, they could realize additional tax savings in the future for major capital projects, as growth projections are significantly higher in municipal areas, thereby theoretically creating a greater contribution over time. So the letter here is just really seeking staff time from EASC sources such as finance, engineering, parks, and other services.
That's it. Over to Director Arbor.
Yeah, thanks. I've gotten into the habit of watching Comox Council meetings in anticipation of our dilemmas, which gave me the heads up on the AAP stuff a while ago. And I watched a Comox meeting yesterday or the day before on this topic because all the other jurisdictions are being asked to see if they will support this. And yeah, it was interesting to listen to their CEO and the discussion there. Kind of lukewarm and more concerned about preserving the amenity costs for Comox than adding some at the regional district was how I kind of read the room. I'm not super, I understand, so I'll start with the positive. The positive is I think staff is looking for ways to diversify revenue for some of those big capital projects. So that is good. But for me at a time where I'll be looking to negotiate out of that particular service, I don't see why Area A would start on a process to add amenity cost charges. And I know that staff is right that most of the growth, like, there's a good rationale that most of the growth will come in the municipalities. And so in a way, it would reduce a little bit the burden over rural. But what I think it'll do too is continue to both tax, and that's the gear up to the big facilities upgrade, right, of 80 million plus or whatever it is, the final amount. And I don't really want to participate in that. So as a result, I won't be in favor of this one, even though I recognize the good intent around it.
Director Hardy.
I guess right now it doesn't hurt to get as much information before you make a decision at the end of the day. So I'd be open to seeing what kind of information comes from the different teams working on that project. Thanks.
Yes, well, I'm kind of in the same boat as Director Arbor. I understand community cost charges, DCCs, etc. When it goes to amenities like utilities, water, that sort of thing. When it goes to recreation, that's kind of what I call a nice to have. And I'd have a hard time, you talk about growth, I mean, there's still a glimmer of hope that there could be growth in Union Bay, quite a substantial growth in Union Bay, and some growth up in Saratoga and Miracle Beach. So I'd have a very hard time asking the developers to kick out to build or support yet another building or program in the city of Courtenay. Because I think we've hit the wall on that one now. And I think I personally am on side with Director A, the director from Area A, in that, we have to, if we're going to have a rec service, it has to be diverse over the valley, not concentrated in one municipality. And, I know there's people from Area C that play hockey, and I know the kids take swimming lessons, but, the vast majority that benefit from this are the citizens of the city of Courtenay. And, I guess I'm on side with Director Hardy in that. Let's get the information. That's fair. But my first blush is, nah, not really. Director Arbor.
Yeah, thanks. I was gonna mention that as well, and I'm glad you did for me. It's true that Union Bay Estates in particular may have taken a couple of steps back here in terms of the speed at which the development will occur, but we're continuing to work towards it and with Comox First Nation eventually. And you're correct that with the strategic plan of the Rec Commission, I would be, if we started on the path to build those 3,000 doors, I wouldn't want to see the amenity charges go to the Rec Commission. I would want it to go to a new service for Area A, where over time we might actually end up with some pretty good facilities in the south. So the information is good as well. For me, I'll still vote against it, but if the two directors vote in favor to get the information, that's fine. I'm just kind of flagging that I won't be on board for actually implementing an amenity cost program at a time where I'm trying to leave the service. Thanks.
Well, hope springs eternal. Hardy.
Yeah, thanks. And I can appreciate Director Arbor's comments there. But like I said, I think it's always good to get the information before you make a decision. Prior to saying no, let's get the information. Thanks. Or yes, let's get the information.
What is the great Canadian saying? No, yes. No, yes. Yes, no. Director Arbor?
There was something good in the report, which was showing the existing DCCs and ACCs, right? So that was good to see, and the levels. And I think, was it last term or it was this term that we added the parks one for the amenity cost charge?
The Parks one is a DCC, so it's a lot under the DCC.
Yeah.
It's been around for a number of years. We just updated it.
We
this
increased
term,
the cost because it was.
We changed the parameters when you pay the building permit rather than rezoning.
Yeah. And it's so interesting, right? Because it's going to be like, if this traffic tariff stuff comes in, right? That's going to be a suppressor, as everybody has talked about, on a lot of stuff. And one of them will be building, right? And the more costs we put in a way, in a normal environment, I think it'd be fine. But I'm actually, it's not a philosophy I have, it's just a question mark. Like I was reading today in Ladysmith, they're having the mayoral debates, right? They're electing a new mayor, and one of the topic is, the status of heritage buildings and the fact that once you tagged on the heritage, nobody builds. So all these things are like falling into the ground because the requirements in order to build are too high, and so that might, with the DCCs and ACCs, I think it would require much more complex analysis, which we probably won't produce, but those questions are on the back of my mind too. I do like that we established that for our park function and increased it, and I definitely haven't heard complaints about it. But just like the town of Comox was talking about, I think they're going to go up to 30 or 40,000 per home in Comox for the sum total of their ACCs and DCCs. That's not an insignificant number. So, anyways, I'm just talking now, so I'll stop.
Yeah, and let it never be said that local government doesn't incentivize house building. But we have one more little thing you have to check off on the box here. Yeah, and I'm surprised to see daycare. Was that just put in there to make it look like we're actually doing something about daycares, or just checking a little box? I'd be surprised. Is there anything on the horizon I don't know about with daycares?
Daycare is just an allowance to the provincial legislation of an ACC. The recreation infrastructure doesn't really look at the.
So it's a
daycare
boilerplate.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. No more discussion. I think we know where we're going on this one. So on receipt, anybody opposed? And I'll move the recommendation for information. and seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carries. Now we reached the point in our program where we're going to entertain a motion to adjourn to the in-camera portion of the meeting. Yeah, we've had to cut back. We got a bag of non-American potato chips for us all. Oh, you do? Oh, okay. Then we're going to call a recess for lunch.